Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Floyd Mayweather is definitely trying to win. Floyd Mayweather, when it comes to the media, it's like a love-hate relationship. A lot of the media is very fair to Floyd. A lot of the media is very hard on Floyd. And Floyd Mayweather and Gervonta Davis, in case you didn't know, we're not really sure on whether Gervonta is going to continue with Floyd Mayweather or not. All the signs are saying that that Gervonta is going to continue being represented by Mayweather Promotions. But then again, not 100% of that. You know, it's nothing definitive. But it sounds like even if Davis chooses not to remain being promoted by Mayweather Promotions, it sounds like he wants to be somewhat associated with Mayweather Promotions. Now, as of right now, I don't think an actual announcement has been made to where we can definitively say Tank is still, his situation hasn't changed with Mayweather Promotion. But what we can say is Mayweather doesn't want to lose Tank. Okay? Now, there's some speculation that Mayweather is bringing on Terence Crawford. And I tend to believe that too because Mayweather is speaking, Mayweather is speaking on Terence Crawford's behalf. And that doesn't happen. And Mayweather could say, well, you know, I just chose to speak out against it because people were saying that the thing with Pacquiao and I and fights that we had agreed to the fight and it was all signed and it wasn't true. And recently Amir Khan came and said, I talked to him about having an exhibition bout, which wasn't true. He's like, so people say things. He's like, and I just felt it was my duty to speak up on behalf of, you know, Terence Crawford because the deal isn't done. Now, he wouldn't elaborate or expound on how he even knows if the deal is done. He wouldn't even entertain questions about if Terence was being signed to him. But as a common sense man, and knowing how Terence Crawford is, why in the world would you want Floyd Mayweather talking about your business? Okay? Seeing what you just came out of with Top Rank, why would you want anyone speaking on your behalf? Because that's something that Bob Arum would have done when Terence Crawford was signed to Top Rank, right? Bob Arum would have been the one to come to the media and kill rumors or confirm rumors. You see? So when Mayweather's doing that, he's out of his lane. He's out of bounds unless Terence Crawford is signed to him. So what it's looking like is Terence Crawford, it's a good chance him and Earl Spence are going to bang. That's a toss-up fight. But a lot of people are giving Terence Crawford the benefit of the doubt of winning that fight. And it just is what it is. But it's split. It's like 60% saying Crawford, 40% saying Spence. But what it looks to me is Floyd wants to make sure he keeps his guys with him. And I'm talking about Tank Davis and potentially Terence Crawford, which I think Terence Crawford has signed with Mayweather. But, and that's a whole nother video. But with him saying he loves Tank, right? Some people are questioning Floyd's sincerity. Now, I understand, and I think some of you guys can understand it. I understand Floyd in the sense of him looking at his experiences as a boxer and everything he's gone through is getting his hands on somebody who has a lot of potential like Tank Davis and just wanting to impart all of his wisdom to that young man to make sure that Tank doesn't go through a tenth of what he went through, but at the same time can make as much money as possible in boxing. Now, the problem with that is, and I can attest to this, man. It's like I came up, as far as my career, I didn't have things handed to me. You know, I had to find a way to win, man. I had to make sure that I was so good, if they did a rack and stack out of me and 100 people, it would make me number 4 or 5, or number 3 through 7, which really meant I was number 1. But that's how it goes sometimes. So when I had people coming up underneath me, I think I used to overwhelm them sometimes. I used to inundate them with just wisdom, man. And some people, is a concentric few that will listen, but the expanded audience, they don't get it because they're just not ready for that conversation. And you can get your feelings hurt when you genuinely care about a person and they don't want to listen to you, they don't see your vision, and especially if they go and they're shredding you behind your back and making you look crazy when you're just trying to help them. Now, so when I look at what Floyd's doing with Tank, I understand. Now, him saying he loves him, I don't know. I would assume that he does. I mean, he's had him, Floyd came over, Gervonta came over to him, he was young, making mistakes. Floyd tried to help him. Look at the point to where he's got him. You can't help but form a bond with somebody. Just imagine working with somebody for 3 years, every day for, whatever shifts you guys are working, 6, 8, 12-hour shifts, 5 days a week. You're in and out with these people. You can't help but for some of them to form some kind of closeness. And emotions are natural. We can't control that, man. You can't help. Sometimes when you just feel something for somebody, whether it's a friendship, whether it's something more, male or female. I'm talking about the friendship now. But it's, I can only imagine when you're immersed in someone's career like Floyd was and see him finally turn that corner and start to mature and make good decisions. And at the same time, his contract's coming to an end. And you don't know whether he wants to stay with you or not because half of what you told him, he understood and he gets. The other half, he doesn't get. And you can't help but want to almost, like with Floyd, maybe just make sure he pours his heart out to this young man before this man makes his final decision. Say, look, over here you're loved, man. Over here you're genuinely cared about. Forget the money and the fame. Like, we genuinely want the best for you. You go somewhere else. Maybe they give you a whole lot of money. But do they genuinely care about you? And I'm going to tell you, there's a difference, man. There's a difference. With someone who, it's like someone who genuinely is welcoming you and wants you there, and then someone who's just tolerating you. You can feel that shit. Children can feel that. You know what I'm saying? And with Tank Davis, and with a lot of athletes, and even if you're not an athlete, just if you're just a professional person with blue collar or whatever you're doing, if people feel they can get something from you, they will tolerate you. And if you're not wise, you'll think that you're loved, that you're welcome, that they want you there. And they don't care one crap about you, man. But you went over there and chased the big money. You went over there and chased convenience. Instead of staying with that person who was maybe not telling you what you wanted to hear all the time. You understand? That person who would let you know you're messing up. But that's not what you want to hear. So you run over here with the yes men and yes women. And they're giving you more money. But as soon as stuff hits the fan, them people turn, they disappear. You understand? You playing Marco Polo now. You shouting Marco. And he ain't no Polo. Or they shouting Marco. You saying Polo and you don't hear no Marco. Because they out of there. They leave you by yourself, man. In the dark. Blind and in the dark. So when you look at Floyd, I really think when he talks about love for Gervonta Davis, the immature people would say, oh, he said he loves him, and then they'll take it another route. I'm not doing it. That's corny. I really think Floyd cares about that guy. But love means willing. I think when it comes to Floyd, it just means willing the good of others. I think he genuinely wants the good of Tank. The one thing we haven't heard about is that court case. We haven't heard anything about that. That's been quiet, hasn't it? So who knows if maybe he feels like Tank needs to hear something like that. Because, Tank has a couple legal battles in front of him. But we haven't heard much about that, have we? So I don't know if it's still ongoing, if it's disappeared, if there's, I forget what that's called. People can't discuss it. I forgot what that's called. But I don't know. But I'm like, why isn't this being covered by TMZ and BoxingScene.com and, post on Twitter? Like, how come that's not being covered? There's something going on. But again, when it comes to Floyd and telling him that he cares about him, he loves him, I'm going to read something to you, and I think it fits what's going on here. So it sometimes means that this would mean calling someone out if they're doing something harmful, which that applies to Floyd and Tank's situation. Unconditionally supporting someone we love and not trying to help them do better is not love. That's exactly what's happening here. Floyd's trying to help this man do better. It is selfishly putting our fear of rejection above the best interest of the person we claim to love. So we put our fear of rejection above the best interest. You see, that all applies to Floyd and Tank. But one thing I will say, right, and this article goes on to talk about it, says, however, sharing these truths doesn't matter if it isn't done out of love, okay? So you could just have someone who, like a guy like me, who's just following your career, and if I ever get an opportunity to sit down and we just start talking, I don't love the guy, but I may just drop a few gems on him because it's a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of experience here. Maybe help him see things a little differently. But for Tank, he needs to evaluate his motives as well, and that's the thing. We all at some point do, and I think Tank has done that. He's talked about maturing, and like Mike Tyson said in an interview, I don't know if I've changed, but I'm not assailing you. Tank Davis didn't go berserk on Rolly, which I'm sure he had those feelings, but he fought it because he's maturing and he doesn't want to make the same mistakes he's made in the past. And it is what it is when it comes to that situation, man. But I don't know, man. I just think about their interactions, and I think Floyd really does care about that guy. But I'm just not sure if Tank. I'm not sure what Tank really wants. I think he wants big fights. But this is my thing, okay? This is my thing, right? If you have an opportunity to make, let's just, some of you are probably all millionaires, okay? So don't take offense to this. And if you're not, don't worry about it, okay? If you have an opportunity, but I think everybody would like to make money, right? If you have an opportunity to make $1 million with little risk, then you have another opportunity to make $1 million with a whole bunch of risk and headache. Which route would you take? And they're both safe. Just one is a higher risk, a lot of headache, right? Which route would you take? You probably take the easier route with very little risk. That damn camera, right? With very little risk. And that's what Floyd is trying to do for Tank. Don't worry about what people say. Don't worry about any of that. In a year and a half, Floyd Mayweather, in a year and a half, fought 17 fights against killers, top opposition. He fought 17 fights in a year and a half to secure that fight with Hernando Hernandez to win his first championship. 17 fights in a year and a half. That's crazy. And then he got his opportunity and he capitalized. How many boxers are doing that right now? Okay? And it probably won't be another. So he's figured out, okay, one, I've set the bar way up here for these lighter weight divisions to get paid big money. Tank has everything it takes to go on and become a billionaire. If you allow me to guide your career the right way, yeah, I'm going to make a little money too. But I'm going to show you how to get to financial freedom, to be financially free without having to go through that crap I went through in my career. But this is the problem, right? This is the problem. Floyd loves that boy so much that he's going to want to leapfrog all the stress, all of the high-risk fights, and get him to that pot of gold. But when you leapfrog all of those tough fights, all of that stress, all of those difficult challenges, all of that turmoil, right? When you leapfrog all of that, you can get to that pot of gold. But there's no accolades that come with that. Floyd just got inducted to the Hall of Fame. He didn't get there by leapfrogging a bunch of stress, turmoil, headaches, strict opposition, strong opposition, formidable opponents. He didn't leapfrog all that. He got to the Hall of Fame because Floyd fought everybody. And especially that, the whole damn, his whole 49 fights, whatever about Conor McGregor. He fought, man. People out here bad talking Floyd because you have nothing better to do. But that man fought everybody and made them all look average. But a guy like Tank, you know, he wants that. So so now you got to come now and rework your business plan, because you got it all structured as if you're still fighting and you don't have to take those hard fights anymore because you did that already. And you're trying to apply that to a young man who's like, well, okay, cool. I see how we can get to this pot of gold, but how are you going to get me to the Hall of Fame? That's the question, man. I want to get to the Hall of Fame. I want to have the accolades. I want to win the belts. Don't necessarily want to keep them because I want to pay those sanctioning fees, but I want to do that too. I feel like I'm capable. And Floyd is more like, you are capable, but it doesn't matter. You look at the big picture. The Hall of Fame, you can still get there by dominating opponents. But let's focus on the number one priority here is generational wealth. And that's a disconnect. And with a guy like Gervonta, who may be looking at, you know, other fights and stuff and who he wants to get in there with, and Floyd's like, nah, maybe not right now. And whoever's in Tank's ear, it could create some problems, man, because I'll tell you what, if Tank was to sign with Eddie Hearn, I think Tank would make more money, no doubt about that. But I think after a couple of fights, Tank would, because of how Tank is wired, I think the first couple of fights with Eddie Hearn, he would feel like, okay, this is different, this is nice. But Tank's he's not a polished person. Do you understand? He's not going to be sitting at a table eating, you know, honey glazed carrots, steamship round, and a roll. That's not him. You know, he needs to be over there where he fits, and he fits in with Mayweather Promotions. And I do hope that Floyd, as much as he says he loves this boy, loves Gervonta, hope he takes all that into consideration. Like I said, revises his business plan that he's trying to apply to the career of Gervonta Davis, and try to find something that works for him, because I think they both deserve it. You know, I think they both deserve it. And I think it'll be cool to see Floyd get his hands on Terence Crawford if that's the case, because Terence Crawford is overdue some huge paydays. He's putting a lot of work. But, you know, he's a big man. He made his own decision. He got to live with it. But I don't know. So when I hear fans questioning Floyd's sincerity, like I said, I think Floyd really, I think number one, he does care. He can't help but have emotion for Gervonta. So it was a young man making a lot of mistakes. Floyd tried to help him. Gervonta burnt him. Sounds like I did a video about Gervonta and Floyd's daughter. I don't know if that's true or not. People say it is. But he's still here hanging with him and trying to grow with him. But at the same time, I think Floyd also has his own personal interest too, because this is a business. But I think he genuinely cares about I keep saying this boy, I don't mean that in a disrespectful manner, that's just how I talk. I think he genuinely cares about Gervonta Davis. But I'll leave it as that, man. But I definitely feel that, you know, nobody cares how much you know, right? Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care, right? Nobody cares how much you know, right? It's a fact. Until they know how much you care. And I think that's what we see happening here. But I'll leave it as that. Let's get back to some more exciting videos. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Shout out to all the veterans. And as always, I'm in the breeze.